Beautiful faces.
Where's visitation?
Oh, this one?
Hey.
Does that please you?
No, I didn't say it. I'm going to get a shot out of
For yours, Liz?
just put them right along here. You have an extra one?
Yes, I do.
I need one for that.
All right. Y'all gonna come up out of
Well, it's not.
Y'all do, oh, okay. Y'all doing the presentation? Yeah, just slide it.
Oh, slide it. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't.
You first.
Of course.
Yeah. All that right there.
Yours is in color.
Yeah, that's what, yeah. Yeah.
And I definitely want to hear yours.
Oh, I didn't keep that.
No, I'll give this extra.
I guess that's it right there.
Secretary.
I like that system. Learn to cover up with commissioners.
The court will please come to order. We have a quorum present, all of our members are present, all legal notices have been duly posted, and this court is duly called. Is there a motion to open court?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The bailiff will please open court.
All right.
Strong and good.
Dennis County Commissioners Court is now in session for October 2014 term with the Honorable Judge Jenkins presiding. Please remain standing for the invocation.
All right, and our invocation today will be given by a guest of Commissioner Daniel.
Thank you very much. This morning, I have the great pleasure to introduce J.C. Thomas, Jr., who served as a senior minister in Churches of Christ for over 40 years. He has preached at congregations in Texas, Washington, Colorado, California, and Michigan. Currently, he serves, along with his wife, Glenda, as marriage and family ministry leaders at the Stop 6 Church of Christ in Fort Worth, Texas. J.C. is a graduate of Southwestern Christian College in Terrell, Texas, and the University of Puget Sound in Tacoma, Washington. He completed all of his classwork for the master's degree at Pacific Lutheran University. He has also done studies at Faith Conservative Lutheran Seminary in Tacoma, Washington, and Ecumenical Theological Seminary in Detroit, Michigan. Currently, J.C. is a graduate candidate in the School of Social Work at the University of Texas, Arlington, and is an intern for me, County Commissioner for District 1. He currently resides in Arlington with his wife of over 40 years, Glenda. And thank you very much for your dedication and for your prayers this morning.
Thank you. Pray with me. Holy Father, we give you praise. Lord Jesus, we lift you up as our Lord and our Savior. We're mindful of the fact that you ordained government, that you intervene in the affairs of men, that your will may be done. And that you have invested yourselves in these government officials as your servants, that they might execute judgment according to your will. Would you empower them to give strength to those who are weak, and would you give them grace to lift up those who are disenfranchised, and make it possible for us to live quiet and peaceful lives. Give them grace this morning, and give them strength, give them the power of discernment, and give them wisdom that they may execute proper judgment according to your will. And even as you empower them, we're going to give you the praise. It's in your holy and divine name we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much.
All right, and we have some resolutions this morning, and the first resolution is from Commissioner Daniel.
Thank you very much. Would those who are here for the technology, Mr. Bickstrom, are you going to stand forward for this? On this very special occasion, we would, at this regular meeting in the Commissioners Court of Dallas County, we would like to, first of all, recognize the vital role that technology has in our daily lives, whereby citizens, schools, libraries, businesses, governmental entities, and other organizations that utilize the internet for keeping in contact with family and friends, managing personal finances, performing research, enhancing education, and conducting business. And whereas critical sectors are increasingly reliant on information systems to support financial services, energy, telecommunications, transportation, utilities, healthcare, and emergency response systems, and whereas technology provides new opportunities for economic growth and for free exchange of information around the world, yet it also provides for the increasing threat of malicious cyber attacks, loss of privacy from spyware and adware, and significant financial and personal privacy losses due to identity theft and fraud. Whereas the month of October is National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, which encourages vigilance and protection by all computer users. Therefore, government entities must work closely together to reduce risk and build resilience in their shared critical information and communication infrastructure, and citizens must be proactive and responsible in their role to secure the cyber networks used every day. And whereas information sharing to provide a collaborative mechanism to help states and local governments enhance cybersecurity. Dallas County provides a comprehensive approach to help enhance the security of this level of government. And whereas the Dallas County Information Technology Department will provide a broadcast email each Tuesday and Thursday during the month of October to heighten awareness and educate employees about cybersecurity. And whereas the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the Multi-State Information Sharing and Analysis Center, and National Cybersecurity Alliance, and the National Association of State Chief Information Officers have declared October as National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and all citizens are encouraged to visit these sites to learn about cybersecurity and put that knowledge into practice in their homes, school, workplace, and businesses. It is therefore ordered, adjudged, and decreed that the Dallas County Commissioners Court approves and hereby proclaims the month of October 2014 as National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And I so move.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. And what is
Motion carries unanimously.
And what is the significance?
Commissioner Price, did you do the second?
Yes, he did.
I did.
Certainly to Dr. Daniels for the sponsor of the resolution, as well as to the Commissioner Court for approving it. We want to thank you for the actual resolution. First, I'd like to go through and actually thank the team of IT professionals that we have, security professionals that we have behind us. Randy Gwynn, who is the county's IT Enterprise Security Officer. And we have also added another the IT Senior Security Analyst, Mr. Aaron Roush, to our team. Certainly for all the reasons that Dr. Daniels has noted in the resolution. In the old days, maybe 4 decades ago, information security meant basically protecting file cabinets, making sure things were locked up and making sure you didn't have certain things in your garbage and stuff there for things like identity theft. Now in this brave new world of everybody being connected to everybody else in social media, we've had to adopt quite a few new tactics to go through and actually make sure our information and our data is obviously secure. Certainly, we thank the Commissioners' Courts for their many investments in the information security for the county. I think we typically are very, very secure as far as we reasonably can be. And certainly, we want to continue to ask the and I believe the information security is really a shared responsibility from everybody. So certainly, I think that we can go through and actually make the infrastructure as secure as possible. But if for whatever reason somebody leaves the door open, so to speak, then it's obviously we want to go through and actually make sure that we educate people on that as well, so we don't necessarily leave the door ajar. So again, thank you so much for the resolution. Certainly, we hope that all the citizens will take this to heart to go through and actually make sure that their systems are well protected, as well as they don't necessarily, if they get a phone call from somebody, they don't necessarily give up information. Make sure that they deal with people that they actually know and they trust. And I'd like to Randy, if you have something.
I'd just like to thank the court for, I've been here for 7 years, and if you look back 7 years ago, there wasn't a lot of things in place around security. And so there's a lot of things with anything. There's a lot of things you can do, and then there's those things that cost money, which is always near and dear to all of our hearts. I've looked back, and the technologies I've requested over the last 7 years, I've gotten 100% support from this court. And we purchased those things, we put them in, and that's one of the primary reasons you don't see Dallas County headlining, that we are one of the many companies being breached today, which primarily you're seeing the financial and retail industry, getting hit hard, but that doesn't mean we're not being trolled or looked at and pinged on, which we are. I could show you all kind of reports that make you go cross-eyed, but we're getting hit every day, all the time, but we have things in place. We've made those investments, and they're paying off. I want to say huge. Now, I don't want to speak too much because I don't want to jinx it, because I don't want to be in the paper tomorrow. I don't think you do too. So I'll leave it at that. As he mentioned, the big security team. A lot of people look, maybe laugh a little bit, and say, "Oh, it's just you, 1, 2 guys." But I don't look at it that way. All of IT is our security team, as all the county employees are, and that's one of the things. One I can say for IT, we've had some things come up. Everybody takes it serious. They drop what they're doing. They respond. We get things remediated, quickly. And then, as far as employees as a whole, it's really funny to me, looking back, that 7 years ago, from nothing to now, I get calls and emails almost daily, if not daily, from various employees throughout the county asking me questions. Hey, I got this, it looks funny, or I'm thinking about doing that, can we do this? And it's that culture change within the county that is primary to making sure we stay secure as well. So I'd just like to thank you for your support.
Randy, I'm unimpressed by those photos of Judge Jenkins, but anyway, Mr. Ames, sorry, that's all right, I'm not going to talk about it. Anyway, let me just tell you, you've done a lot of things the last 7 years. Some of them I would have sent you with that last administration, however, that's another bill. John Ames and the tax assessor and collector's office, I just want to thank IT for that. That was real major. Mr. Ames happened to have a heads up to another county wherein someone had hacked and millions of dollars was going out the window. And he had a heads up for that, and you guys came in and firewalled and double firewalled and made sure. And I just can't even fathom what might have happened. She'd been and so I just want to thank you. There are a lot of things that stand out that you've done. I don't think anything you've done that's more pressing than that. I was just amazed that they had gone into this much smaller county and had taken tens of millions of dollars without them knowing. And so
when that happens, obviously they were practicing to do it in a bigger county.
Yeah.
But with that being said, thank you all for the work you do. I know it's challenging, and God knows we all want you all to move faster. I do have to say that. But well, we know that it's going to take some time. With that being said, it's refreshing to hear that you're working together. I want to thank my colleague, Dr. Daniels, for being the leader when it comes to IT. And well, I can go on a list of the things and the projects that, like Rick said, are in that list. But I mean, I feel confident that we're moving the right way.
And the last point I would like to say, too, that in addition to just maintaining the security level within the county's infrastructure is the importance of the community education that you also take on, because that's then moving out and expanding upon so that you can change the culture within Dallas County and how we do business, but then also influence the whole county and all of its citizens. So thank you very much for your leadership and dedication, and the long hours that you put in on weekends also and after hours to make sure that it does work.
Yes, ma'am. We're just glad to be of service.
Thank you.
Thank you. Judge, this morning I'd asked Ms. Charlotte Edney and the delegation from the Dallas County Juvenile Department to come forward. Whereas Dallas County takes special notice where an individual has given long and faithful service to Dallas County, and whereas Charlotte D. Edney was born in Dallas, Texas, attended Franklin D. Roosevelt High School and Jarvis Christian College in Hawkins, Texas, where she received a bachelor's degree in sociology with a minor in psychology. And whereas Charlotte enjoys singing, shopping, and gardening, she has a strong passion for kids. And whereas Charlotte is a faithful member of the Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship Church, where she serves the Urshan Ministry, she is a member of the Juvenile Detention Association and currently holds a child care administrator's license. The special achievements include a certificate of appreciation for exemplary leadership from the START program in 2009, and the Commissioner's Court resolutions for audit recognition in 2012 and 2014. And whereas Charlotte began her Dallas County career on September the 7th, 1989 in the Juvenile Department as a child care worker. And whereas Charlotte has continuously served in the juvenile department in positions with increasing leadership responsibilities to include transportation officer, juvenile residential officer supervisor, Title III specialist, caseworker 3, lead caseworker, assistant superintendent, and now superintendent 2 where she currently serves. And where Charlotte has served Dallas County diligently for 25 years, now therefore be it resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby recognize and extend sincere appreciation for Charlotte D. Edney for 25 years of faithful service and further expresses best wishes for her in the future years of service to Dallas County. And I so move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Commissioner. What's not contained in that resolution, you can never capture a person's spirit and their faith. Having been here a short time, it's real apparent, and you can observe it, just anybody who deals with her on a daily basis, of what a person of faith that she is and a person of passion. She has a deep concern for the kids that we serve. She does an outstanding job. They continue to get extremely high audit scores, which is a paperwork kind of detail, and Ms. Edney does a great job, her and her team, of making sure we pay attention to that detail. You can never thank a person enough who gives their life and their time to the juveniles that we serve. So we owe a big debt of gratitude to Ms. Edney and the job that she does, and the people all behind her support her in their various positions and have had close contact with her and her style and her leadership. She is an outstanding, phenomenal woman that is a force to be recognized, and we are all very appreciative to have her working with us and for us.
Mr. Taylor.
Ms. Edney, on behalf of the team, we'd like to say thank you, and we love you, and I feel privileged to have worked with you these last few years.
Thank you. Let me, before Ms. Edney, well, go ahead on, Ms. Edney, continue.
Thank you. Thank you, Court. Special thank you, Commissioner Price, Judge Jenkins, Dr. Smith, Mr. Taylor, Dr. Taylor, and to the team that works with me on a regular basis. 25 years, I've had 25 years to grow and develop as an individual. I've got a lot of wisdom working for Dallas County, and for that, thank you.
Well, what I wanted to say, and I think you just kind of embedded it in your thinking. I want to thank Dr. Taylor as well. Before Dr. Smith arrived on the scene, having been kind of the ranking member of the Dallas County Juvenile Board, I have the occasion to be in and out of those facilities. Sometime 4 o'clock in the morning, Mr. Taylor, they can affirm, sometimes as late as 12 o'clock at night. And one of the things that Dr. Taylor, I said to her before the arrival of this administration, of this executive team, is that Ms. Edney deserved a real chance. She seemed to always be there. And while Dr. Taylor agreed and we went forward with a, quote, kind of what we know as an underfill in our organization, Ms. Edney rose to the occasion. And this administration saw that and continues. And when you talk about all of our campuses, she has the largest staff, the largest number of individuals that she does day to day. And as Dr. Smith said, she continues to perform, and her team, superbly on the audits. So I just appreciate the fact that you recognize that, gave her that opportunity, and she rose to the occasion. And to all of her other colleagues here who continue to perform for our young people and the parents, thank you. That's a real sacrifice, because until you have been over there and seen some of the young people are challenged with, it's really amazing. I mean, they can come in, a lot of them are severely mentally challenged, and I get the report where who's put on meds, I get the ones that are taken off of meds, I get the ones that are adjusted for meds, and then we watch what goes on throughout the organization. But I just want this team to understand that I really appreciate it, and thank you for it. There's no substitute for leadership.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Oh, yes. Good thing. And while they're coming for pictures, if the next group will go into place, Virginia Etherly. Everyone says this is a retirement. And
They're going to look great as always.
Why?
You know, if someone can move to the other side.
y'all could also use those steps kind of.
Yes, it's the post there we
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Thank you. Good morning, boss. How are you?
Thank you. Hello, how you doing?
Which one are you talking about?
It's congratulations.
It's got
Pretty cool.
Well, this is an impressive retirement.
Yeah.
Delegation.
Yeah, this is. The next one, Judge and colleagues, is a retirement with great trepidation. Ms. Edney was just looking for 25 more years, so we got her covered. But this next one was some trepidation. Whereas Dallas County does take special notice when an individual has given long and faithful service to Dallas County, whereas Virginia A. Etherly was born in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. She attended Pine Bluff High School, El Central College, and the University of Arkansas. And whereas Virginia A. Etherly began her Dallas County career on October the 9th, 1984, in the district clerk's office as a civil process clerk. And whereas Virginia has continuously served in the district clerk's office in positions with increasing leadership responsibilities, including court clerk, court trainer, file desk supervisor, assistant manager, operations manager, and now chief deputy, where she currently serves. And whereas Virginia has been recognized for her solid leadership, remarkable versatility, and her unsurpassed level of professionalism. She also maintains a full schedule of professional and educational activities. And whereas Virginia is a member of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporation and the National Association of Court Managers, and whereas Virginia is a faithful member of the Antioch Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church, where she serves in the Deaconess and Greeters Ministry. She is married to Arthur Etheridge III, has 2 children, Arthur IV and Benson. She enjoys traveling, shopping, and spending time with family and friends. And whereas Virginia has served Dallas County continuously and diligently for 25 years, now therefore be it resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby recognize and extend sincere appreciation to Virginia A. Etherly for 25 years of faithful service, and further expresses best wishes for her continued success in the future years, serves to Dallas County on this her retirement. And I so move.
Second.
All those in favor, see my saying.
Correct, it's actually 30 years of service.
30?
I think there was an error in the
Okey doke. We definitely don't want to take any years. We know that that's a multiplier effect around here. Okay, got it. Not a problem. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Fitzsimmons? Or Ms. Clerk, yes, you better both of you.
Yeah, we want to hear from
I don't know about all that. I was actually sitting, but I had to participate because not only has Virginia Etherly been a cornerstone in the district clerk's office, but she's always also played a significant role in the joint efforts that both Mr. Fitzsimmons and I have done to make both our offices successful. And we could not have done that without Ms. Etherly's support. She has been a phenomenal individual in helping us move our offices forward. So I just want to thank her. And I actually tried to convince her that she shouldn't be leaving until next year, but she wouldn't listen to me. But I want to applaud her for all the things that she's done and for the support that she's given, not only the district clerk's office, but the county clerk's office as well.
I can't say enough about Virginia. She's the kind of person who, when I first started back in January 2nd of 2007, I instantly fell in love with. As she knows, my own therapist has complained that I put her on a pedestal, and it's hard not to because she is an actual. It's true. I can see it. Sane people do. Sane people do.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's good. No, I mean, that's a good thing. I appreciate it.
Exactly. So in any event, it is hard not to put her on a pedestal because she puts I just have to. Excellence is her middle name. I mean, everything she does, everything she touches is in fact, the world, in fact, is a better place for having Virginia Etherly. I haven't cried since August 5th of 2005. And I've taken a Sudafed, so I don't think I'm going to do it at this. But we have our party on Friday, so I fully intend to weep openly at the party. She has been the partner in my labor in digital conversion of our courts, as she knows, and I think as many members of the Commissioners Court realize, it has been very, very tough. I'm a hothead. I fly off the handle very well. You know, it comes.
I'm in a second. Nothing like confession.
I am a hothead. She is not a hothead. She's not quite a hothead. She actually is a sober and calming influence, and she has a way of communicating with our members of our judiciary that really is special. I mean, she comes with the kind of respect and dignity that you expect from a longtime public employee. So yeah, I'll be crying on Friday, and it really is it's been a pleasure to know. Even though she's from Arkansas, you know, I don't typically hire people from south of the Mason-Dixon line, but I did make an exception with Ms. Etherly. So in this particular case, but she's a wonderful person and well deserving of this recognition, and I hope she continues her service to Dallas County. I trust that she will. She's got so much more to give. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Fitzsimmons, with all your admissions, I just want you to understand that I've been around here for the last 3 decades, and by Mr. Warren is kind of running in tandem with being to the best clerks. I mean, I remember somebody named Ellis that far back on the county clerk side, but I remember somebody named Shaw that far back on the district clerk side. But I want you to understand that you have been a superb clerk in that position, notwithstanding your pen to find good talent. At the end of the day, you know, that's what it's all about, regardless of what you do, whether you're there or not. It's whether or not your leadership carries over. And so thank you for what you've done. And I told Ms. Etherly, one of the things about Ms. Etherly, she attends all of our meetings. I mean, if it's jail population, you know, she's there. I mean, she's there, she's on the ground, and she represents you well. And if somebody says something in one of those meetings that is not exactly correct, she doesn't have any problem speaking up and checking them. Right, Mr. Stretcher?
That's right.
Yeah, okay, never mind. That's all right. But anyway, somebody said something in a population meeting the other day and about the offices being closed during noon.
No, she corrected that.
Yeah, that's right. And boy, she checked us real quick. She said, hey, somebody's always there. Somebody's always on that second floor. We don't leave trainees up there Well, and I mean, she checked us real good. So I just want you to know you're very represented professionally, and thank you. Thank you for what you continue to do, Ms. Anthony.
Virginia, when's your last day?
Friday.
Friday.
We need to, Ryan, we have any consulting dollars? I don't know if we can keep Gary in check. That's not
Sudafed.
Well, Virginia, I want to say also, you've attended a lot of meetings that I've been at, and you've always been a very productive county employee, and have added a lot of value to what you've done. And I just want to say thank you for all that you've done for Dallas County. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to add, when talking about meetings, you're right. Mr. Ashley has always been there. And of course, we know that Mr. Warren and Mr. Fitzsimmons, are a good team. Now I know Sudafed is part of it. But with that being said, you can always go to his therapy. You're in a pedestal over there, if you decided to go back. So anyway, thank you, Ms. Ederle. I always say that, our county employees is the base of, of the success of any commissioners in the county. So thank you all. The group that is here with you, it's a great representation of how much they're going to miss you and how much they care about you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We've talked about the meetings that we see you at, but what that is based upon is what you're doing back at the office and all around. That really gives you the wherewithal to be able to sit at the meetings and put those corrective measures in to keep everybody in line. But thank you so much for what you do back in the office to make sure that everything is definitely kept up at that high level. You will be missed.
Thank you.
Take your time.
For me, today really is a day of Thanksgiving. I'm very thankful for God's grace and His favor that He's shown me over the last 30 years. When my friend Willie Jackson suggested that I apply to Dallas County, I wasn't very interested. But I took him at his word that it was a good place to start, and I intended to get a year or so worth of experience under my belt and move on.
Yep.
My expectation was that God had greater things for me than Dallas County, and little did I know that, yes, He did have greater things, but they were to be done at Dallas County. So I'm very appreciative of the leadership of the district clerk's office. Gary Fitzsimmons showed faith and trust in me and asked me to partner with him in leading the district clerk's office, and I'm very appreciative of that opportunity. It gave me an opportunity to grow and to learn more, and I hope that I have imparted that knowledge through the employees at Dallas County and the district clerk's office particularly. I love these guys. I could not have warranted any of these comments were it not for the representation of the people who stand behind me. The district, I say it all the time, the district clerk's office is the best office in Dallas County. And I say that because, one, I've spent 30 years in the district clerk's office, and two, I've learned that this staff, a lot of this staff are people that I hired and people that I promoted, and tried to instill an excellence in them. I want to thank my husband, who's here with me today, and who for the last 30 years has been very supportive and has kind of been my sounding board when I reach home and the day at the office wasn't all that great. So I really do want to publicly say that I appreciate you for who you are and who you are to me. Also, I'd like to thank my parents from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, yes, for instilling in me the work ethic and the desire to do my best. It's been a wonderful, awesome experience. And I wish everyone in Dallas County well. I may see you again. I will certainly, I will miss Commissioners Court, so I will have to attend at least once a month so that I can kind of stay in tune, because I am a resident of Dallas County.
You're just in a Sudafed if you got that time.
So, again, thank you very much. I appreciate the experience that I've received, and God bless all of you.
You know, after 30 years, she's at least entitled to a picture.
If she wants one.
Well, that's what I'm saying, usually out, yeah, well, after 30 years, hey, you don't get a gold watch, and you at least get a picture.
Hey, I agree, but you never know what the feelings are,
Yeah, right. Well, hey, she gets it.
Okay, Ms. Patricia, only if you want a picture.
If you want a picture.
Oh, yes. Congratulations. So everyone else is getting advised.
You're all right.
What can you say?
Yeah, that was just story.
There we go. Mr. Fitzsimmons, we want you in the picture. That's so high. Gary. Yeah, one. Yeah.
You can use the steps as well. You guys kind of spoil a little bit, kind of stand according to the family, got a big family. Young lady, right there, you need to come out the front. Yes, ma'am. You're moving. Yes, ma'am. I can't see you. You're too short. Ladies, you can go back on the step. Just go on the step. I think everybody wants. There you go. Go on up. On up. Okay, y'all go on up. Follow them. All right, young man right there. Yeah. Be where I can see you. Okay. Young man right there. You good enough? Ladies, young lady, step over that way a little bit with the red on. So, young lady in black, follow her. Yeah. So you won't block the young lady. Young lady behind the husband, come on, right over here. Yeah, with the cap. Come on, darling, right here. With the hat on, right here. Come on over, right there. Okay, feel on over. One more time. Everybody's in, all right? Young lady with the coat on, ease over that way. Go back so I can see the young lady behind you, okay? All right, everybody's in. Young lady, who's that? Excuse me, out a little bit and step up, please. Thank you. All right, everybody's in. Ready? On three. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Stay where you are. Ready? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, no problem. Sorry. You all right? Good, good to see you. Hello, lady. Okay. Hey, guy. You all right? I'm all right. Good, man. Good to see you.
Jim and me, it takes us an hour to do resolution.
Hey, we move on.
And our last resolution today is from Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, Judge, colleagues, members of the audience. Today is my honor to bring a resolution to the court of a very important month, and it's the Archives Month. And I'm going to ask Mr. John Slade Lance Johnson and Krishna Shinde to move forward as I read the resolution. It's especially important not only because I believe we need to know the history of our county to become the greatest county. So, and we have an archivist in our commissioner court as well, you know, Dr. Daniel. So, I mean, we make this very special for me. Whereas much of the rich and diverse heritage of Dallas County is contained within the documents and records created by and for its people. And whereas local government, religious, medical and educational institutions, libraries, historical societies, museums, businesses, and families throughout Dallas County have established archives as means of preserving our written history. And whereas these archives collectively contain unique materials ranging from handwritten letters and diaries to typewritten manuscripts, photographs, video, and modern electronic data systems. And whereas archivists in Dallas County are dedicated to responsibly preserving the historical work, maintaining records in the public trust, and making those records available for study and appreciation, whether in a repository or via internet now. Whereas through these archives, future generations of Dallas County residents and North Texans can more accurately study the past, learn from the accomplishments of their predecessors, trace their ancestry, understand their community's pride of place, confirm proper rights, and maintain laws, while celebrating the history of our city and our county area. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby declare October 2014 as Archive Month and encourage all citizens to discover the rich treasures contained in our archives, repositories in Dallas County, North Texas, and across the state. And I so move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Slade?
Thank you, Dr. Garcia, Judge Jenkins, honorable commissioners. I want to first introduce myself. I'm John Slade. I'm the city archivist for the city of Dallas. And I'd also like to introduce Krishna Shinde of the Sixth Floor Museum, Lance Johnson, my colleague from the Dallas Municipal Archives and Records Center. We're representing the Metroplex archivists who represent all different kinds of archives in the county and in the area. But I just wanted to say one thing, which is that, you know, when you think of archives, we think of, you know, quaint photographs of Elm Street, or we think of dusty ledgers or something like that. But really, archives are that, but they are so much more. Archives are a foundation of democracy. Archives archives are like, they protect public assets. They protect the rights of citizens. And probably more importantly, most importantly, archives promote the transparency that we all want in public government. And it is in that spirit that I thank the Commissioners Court for recognizing Archives Month. And we encourage everyone to not just use archives, but think of the value of them. Sometimes we're the people that you call only when you need us at the last minute. But we're always there. We're always sort of working behind the scenes, and we want you to know that archives are there to, like I say, to protect public assets, to protect the rights of citizens, and to provide transparency that I know that everyone here on the court agrees we all need plenty of. Mm-hmm. But thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Slade. Do you want a picture as well?
As you're coming up, having spent many quality hours on the sixth floor in your world, we really do appreciate the fact that you do keep that history for us when we do need it. Because as they say, if you forget your history, isn't it, that you are then doomed to repeat it.
Yeah, but some of us are trying, because some of us history started when other people decided that it started. Yeah, I know. Sadly, that's fact. Yeah, that's fact.
You had it right, sir.
In fact, if you check with the records bill prior to 1860, original history.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
And I believe that'll take us to our consent agenda. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Move the consent agenda.
Second.
All right.
Ask Ms. Porter, any, okay.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. We'll now consider court orders, excuse me, we'll now consider court orders I-1 through I-22. Is there a motion on court orders I-1 through 22?
So moved.
Second.
All right.
I am the person that moved.
They both move simultaneously. Let's go with Dr. Garcia.
I'll yield the second.
And so second will be...
I'll yield the second to Dr. Garcia. I'm going to Dr. Brown.
Okay. Done.
All right. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Excuse me, I've got something in my throat. Our agenda now calls for a briefing session of items to be considered for a subsequent session. Mr. Martin, will you lead us through that?
Judge, with your permission and with the court's permission, I can hold the presentation until the end of the briefing. We have a short briefing agenda, so we can get to those fairly quickly and then get to the two presentations.
If the court would please, I'd ask Mr. Thompson to come forward. This as a part of the public health. We were doing
I think we were going to do that.
Yeah, I'd like to suspend it until, we had a short briefing agenda, if I can go through that real quick.
Suspend, that's fine. Motion to suspend the agenda.
Second. The budget.
All those, brief discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay.
Thank you. Item budget number 3 recommends approval of the professional service agreement between Dallas County and Christopher Taylor for services rendered as a part-time court coordinator for the Legacy Family Court. Commissioners Court Administration, item 4, recommends approval of the attached professional services agreement with Griffith Mosley Johnson Associates for 1 year, October 1 through September 30, 2015. Health and Human Services, item 5.
On the jail contract, it's the same pretty much that we have been, the services that we've been provided. Same teams and everything, same fees.
Same dollars, same.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Health and Human Services, item 5, approve the fiscal year 2015 fair market ranks by zip codes as presented in the attachment to be administered by Dallas County Health and Human Services. Item 6, approve the fiscal year 2015 utility allowance schedule as presented in the attachments. Item 7, approve the Department of State Health Services contract, bioterrorism. Human Resources, number 8, approve expenses related to employee open enrollment plan for fiscal year 2015. IT, item 9, approve the purchase of one Palo Alto M100 management and storage appliance, including the 3-year maintenance and support agreement. Juvenile, item 10, approve the second amendment of the interlocal agreement to provide student transportation with Dallas County schools. Purchasing, item 11, recommends authorized donation of mural paintings, leather chair, and cast iron stamp to the Old Red Museum. And item 12, authorize a second 12-month extension of RFP for collection services for Justice of the Peace Court is awarded to Linebarger, Gargan, Blair, and Sampson. I have 3 travel bring-ups for Health and Human Service for delivery of specimens to Austin. Those dates of travel were October 9th, October 12th, and October 13th. And Mr. Brown has a couple of bring-ups also.
John Ames will be traveling to Austin on Monday, October 20th for a Texas Department of Motor Vehicles VTR working group meeting in a county vehicle. And I need to get a Commissioner's Court approval. One of our DOJ consultants, Madeline Lemire, has exceeded the daily amount and the maximum gratuity and lack of detailed receipts. The individual has certified that the reimbursement request does not include any alcohol, and the total over the exceeding the per diem was $194.
Mr. Chair, that concludes your briefing agenda. Presentations, number 1 is the Ebola update, and Director Thompson and Dr. Perkins.
And if you get the court will permit, I had asked him to go on this road. One of the things that we just heard with the presentation from the budget director was traveling to Austin. I'm hoping that Director Thompson is going to deal with that in terms of begin to go forward with that. In this day and time, based on, I don't know where we are with a certification in our labs and our products, we have those tools right here. And when I saw those dollars and spending about 400 miles round trip to travel to Austin, that makes no sense at all in this era. So
dollars and time.
Yeah, dollars and time. So we're going to deal with that. So, Mr. Thompson,
Judge, Commissioners, real briefly, we want to make sure that we're real clear on a number of things. We've been addressing public health preparedness for over 18 years here in Dallas County. This is the first opportunity that Dallas County and the United States has actually been able to put in place our preparedness activities. And this is not a simulation, this is an actual event. In the case, we're dealing with uncharted territories that we're involved in. There are some interim guidance that are being developed, and while we appreciate everyone's involvement, we also are asking everyone's patience as we go through this. The development of these interim guidance are important because this is actually a real case, real context that we're following up on. There are questions that come up oftentimes to us that really are not applicable, and I want to make sure that we're clear on that. In terms of some of the areas, let's go to the next slide. There are certain areas that we're focused on. What the Chair of Public Health Advisory, Commissioner Price, brought up is that we're talking about testing capability. Our lab is a BS3 lab that can do Ebola testing, and we just need certification from CDC. Based on the email I sent, we've been contacted, and they're going to look at our ability to be able to do the testing. We feel like that's the most efficient way based on the time frame. When these samples are taken to Austin, our staff are taking out their time to drive to Austin and drop off the samples and come back. And as I pointed out, there are issues that if they're an accident or whatever, so if we could do the preliminary testing here at our lab, that would be an effective way. So we've been contacted by the CDC, and they were talking about coming by and visiting our lab.
So our risk would actually be lessened?
Testing here and the faster turnaround. And so that's the key point that we're looking at. There have been other bioterrorism labs that have been approved throughout the United States, except ours. And this is where, if they're calling this ground zero, we should have that ability to do the testing.
And we're totally prepared for that as well.
We're totally prepared for that. There'll be some things that we would have to develop in terms of purchasing, but Dr. Bannister and our bioterrorism laboratory staff are the tops in the country, and we should be able to have that ability to test here and not have to send samples all the way to Austin or drive them down there. Or somebody else could drive them down there.
Definitely.
So in terms of that, we look at also translating Ebola information in various languages. I don't know who that lady was that was quoted in the paper. Nobody ever talked to her. Our languages have been developed by our contractor, and we've been on task with providing multiple languages. Our staff have been on the ground this past Sunday, when everybody else was talking about going out and passing out materials. Our staff that went out there and passing out materials in the M Street area. In terms of education and it's about 13 languages. And here's the thing about languages. Every time somebody go visit, they come up with a different language. So we try to get all the languages at once, but every day somebody go out there and meet somebody. It may be tomorrow, they may have another language. But our point is, we went with the 13 languages we knew of. Exactly. And we wanted to do it all at one time instead of piecemealing. We went door to door in terms of providing information. Again, I want to thank Dr. John Carlo. They helped us in responding to the letters, Dallas County Medical Society. Our staff have been inundated with a lot of requests, and I want to thank Dr. Carlo for offering that as well. Let's go to the next one. Ongoing efforts. Again, I pointed out, our staff is transporting specimens to Austin. We're taking away our laboratory staff valuable time to transport, and they don't have a problem with doing that. It's just that we can do it here locally. Our PHOC is up and running. We're also, our nurse educator, health educator are out there every day, and we're doing communication with various individuals out there. I also want to bring out one point that I get questions asked by just different people. There are 48 contacts that Dallas County Health and Human Services, CDC, and the Texas Department of State Health Services is following up on. There are contacts that Presbyterian Hospital is following up on, and those questions need to be directed to Presbyterian. We don't have any information on those contacts. And so, I try to divert that back to who the questions should go to. Also, they asked us questions about appropriate PPEs. I'm going to say that those, as Chair of the Public Health Advisory and Dr. Garcia, as we talked over the past couple of days, those questions are really to Presbyterian Hospital in terms of when the PPE, the appropriate PPE will put on. Those are kind of questions that have to be asked to the hospital and not to Dallas County Health and Human Services.
And I want you to differentiate when we talk about your staff drawing loss, and also as part of public health preparedness. One of the things is, first of all, we want to thank the NRC.
Yeah, medical.
The Medical Reserve Corps, and it's optimal. It works well over the weekend and your coordination. But during the week, you're having to draw staff from other parts of your agency to try to fulfill those obligations in terms of outreach and dissemination of information. And
we do that, and our staff are willing to do that. Our MRCs come in the evening, on the weekends. On Sunday, we put a call out that we needed, people were saying need material out. All of a sudden, I see a request that Dallas County Health and Human Services need to do it. And so at that point, in less than an hour, we had MRC volunteers showing up and joining me out there to pass out at the M Street area. Again, we get a lot of requests, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, we got one end talking and one end doing, and everybody's on the same page. But I'm just saying, Dallas County Health and Human Services, when we talk about heroes, it ain't one section of epidemiology. We got Tamara Scroggins, who is our public health assistant director, who is dealing with a lot of things. These are names you never hear about. Erica, who is working on our whole campaign of getting the message out, and of course our top doc. So when we talk about heroes, we talk about Daniel, who took out in his personal car to drive to Austin to drop off. So I don't want any one person at Dallas County Health and Human Services single out. All of them are heroes. And so I got to make sure that's clear, because the story we tell has to be a clear story that all of our staff are on board. We took some of our housing staff on yesterday, weatherization. They were out there passing out material. But again, there are questions that are going to come up. We don't have a problem with it. That's what we've been training for, and that's what we want to do. But I'm not going to allow other people to say, here's somebody that's doing, everyone is doing something as well. Let's go to the next. And I'm going to bring the top doc on, Dr. Perkins, and then we'll finish up with one other thing in terms of our latest numbers.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Good morning, Commissioner Court, citizens of Dallas County. Today, in regards to the Ebola situation here in Dallas County, we have total of 2 confirmed cases and unfortunately 1 death. The index case, Mr. Duncan, who passed on last week. Again, 2 confirmed Ebola cases. To date, Dallas County has been monitoring 48 contacts. 10 are the high risk or definite exposure, 38 are possible exposure. And to date, fortunately, none of the 48 are showing any symptoms. Thank you.
One last thing, we can go to the next slide in terms of transmission. Dr. Perkins has went over that numerous times. We'll go to the last slide. What I'm asking, I'll submit to Ryan, and the court can review it. Based on what we've experienced here, there's going to be a need for additional public health staff. While I appreciate all the help that we've gotten from our partners, there are going to be additional epidemiologists that we need to bring on board, health educators that we need to bring on board to support our ongoing activity. So I'll submit that to the court here in the future in the next 2 weeks to talk about additional staffing that we're going to need. But right now, all hands are on deck. We're doing and responding to questions. And what would help us a lot if Dr. Perkins' advice to an individual was, he told an individual he had the flu. I want to be real clear. As the physician, if somebody keeps saying that they have an issue, his role is to say, go ahead and seek whatever medical help you need. But what we need is real response to real issues. And so we get a lot of calls or a lot of requests for people who think that they have something. And let's go back. I like Dr. Perkins really to talk about the transmission, because today we have not been ill.
Well, let me ask you a question, Zach, because I'm not sure I really understand this. Has I haven't heard that there's been declared an emergency. I haven't heard that there's been declared a disaster. So this is it considered a public health event? Is this considered a biological event? In other words, what authority are we operating under, and is funding tied to any of those declarations at the federal and state level?
Well, I asked that last week.
I'm trying to...
Well, there has not been a declaration of an emergency.
Well, we have the EOC up and operating.
Yeah, but it's still, but there has to be...
So I'm trying to figure out...
How will the funding come with this?
And number two, at some point in time, as a court, we're going to have to talk about, and bring it to public health, but I had the occasion to be with Mr. Thompson and visit some of the individuals who are...
Control order.
And I guess I'm a little concerned about, what I consider to be who's managing it all. And with all due respect, the Sheriff's Department is definitely on the job, but wow, I mean, we couldn't have gotten into Fort Knox energy, but then we could have gotten to where these individuals were. And I just, at some point in time, we've really got to manage these dollars totally different.
So is it CDC or is it state health?
Well, that's a question I turn over to the
well, and that's that.
to answer that. Our role is we're operating and submitting our billings has been asked to the Dallas County Auditor's Office. Right. So that's what we're doing right now, keeping track.
Right, but are you doing that? Are you declaring this a biological event, a public health event?
Yeah, declared.
No. That's the question I asked in one meeting. Was this a declared emergency? I think in our...
Do you need to declare an emergency to be able, Judge, to bring those funds that you've been promised will pay for this?
The governor and I will stay in communication about that. The DDC was stood up 48 hours ago, which is normally stood up by the governor in situations of emergency. The law dealing with this particular matter, as we've seen with these protective orders, that we needs to be strengthened. I've talked to Speaker Strauss about that, but we'll likely work with Representative McCall, who's the Chair of Homeland Security in the United States House of Representatives, who's also asked about this matter, and some of our delegation on those things. The goal of the DDC is to work on that accounting. One of the goals of the DDC is to work on that accounting mechanism. I talked to Tom Frieden at 7:30 this morning. We didn't talk about that, but we did talk about some of these other issues that y'all are touching upon. Philip Mojo is coming over with the head of disaster preparedness for Harris County. Philip Mojo is the head of that for TDE in Texas. They're meeting right now with Doug Bass, who I've named incident commander, and Rocky Vaz, who's the emergency manager for the city of Dallas. They're putting down for me on a sheet of paper bullet points. They're each going to the room if they talk to put down bullet points on a sheet of paper. We're seeing what they agree to. We're getting that DDC embedded in the unified command structure that we have now. It's essentially it's one team, one fight. But what I've been told from, by both the state and the federal government at the executive levels is not to let money stand in the way of getting this done. It has serious implications, which are probably readily apparent to people, and some of which may not be, but it's very important that this be stopped.
Well, let me ask this. Has there been a formal declaration of an emergency or a formal declaration of a disaster? In other words,
there has not been.
And there does not have to be?
It's at this point, working closely with the Attorney General, the Governor, Secretary Burwell, Tom Frieden, and others, the form that we're working under is the form that people think works best.
And what form is that? I'm just trying to figure out what form it is. Everything that I've seen in all of the emergency preparedness.
My job is just to get the trains to run. I mean, I'm not being coy with you. My job is to get the trains to run on time. Lawyers in the federal and state government are handling that, Commissioner. And honestly, you know, if I'm told legally we need to do something different, then that's what we'll do. I mean.
But at this point, we don't have a number or any points to declare this an emergency. Any qualifications that would declare it?
At this point, based on advice of I don't know where all they get their advice, but the federal and state government are not recommending that we call this an emergency, right?
And for the edification of the public, the difference in the declaration is a difference in the funding sources. And, you know, I always tell people, you know, we talk about reserves around here. There's only a couple of $1 million in reserves. And let me just tell you, what I observed Saturday, and then the invoices that I requested, we're way north of $1 million. And I know folks say, well, you know, at the end of the day, you know, money, well, it's got to come from somewhere. And I think that's where we're all trying to go. We don't mind driving the train. We just want to make sure that the tracks are up there.
Well, and if some of those companies have direct contracts with the county, I'm not sure how Ms. Porter pays those.
Let me help you out on that deal.
Okay.
So part of what happens is when the contract's with the DDC, that's the state's the pay source. So that's one of the things in the integration meeting that we're having today. It's one of the ways that you get the state to pay for things.
Well, and I guess I'm referencing what I saw on TV where the cleanup guys or whatever the name is says we don't know who's paying, but our contract's with Dallas County. So does that come through us, and then Virginia,
So then they switch to a new cleanup company that has
what about the old cleanup company?
So that is one of those things that it will be worked out by the accounting branch that is being stood up now, and we'll get you all that information. And obviously we want to be, you know, we balanced 4 budgets without a tax increase, 2 of them in the worst recession since the Great Depression. We're all very, you know, very focused on our fiduciary duty. Now, though, is not the time to slow down what we're doing to have a discussion about.
We're not asking
that.
That's not the point.
You know, what I'm interested is, first of all, I want to say thank you to the Dallas County Health and Human Services Department for the fantastic job they've been doing.
Exactly.
I think the point we're trying to make clear, Judge, if I'm kind of following what we've been saying, is there's several uncharted territory, like Mr. Thompson named it, and that is, you know, at what point is there a criteria that mentions at what point this will become an emergency, and how is this tied with funding? I think that is a, you know, good question to ask. Now, emergency responders is another one, and we've been getting a lot of emails, a lot of calls about emergency response personnel, and, you know, any kind of contact and disclosed locations, should they be aware of it? And that's another, you know, good question. And I know we're working with the state, Judge. I know we're working with the State Health and Human Services Department, but those are real questions that are coming through.
Let me answer those for you, because I have the ability, I don't do it often, but under the way that things are set up, I can change a call. And so the call right now, changed the call just this morning that all persons with a fever who have been to West Africa will be picked up and taken by hazmat to Presby, not to Parkland, not anywhere else. Be taken to Presby because we feel like we have built. You know, you can take Muhammad to the mountain, or you can bring the mountain to Muhammad. In this instance, we feel that we brought the mountain to Muhammad. We brought in, I don't want to say their names because I don't want the media to go try to interview them. They've got to be focused on what they're doing. We brought in the two top infectious disease control hospitalists in the country. We brought in the most experienced American living doctor in fighting Ebola, most of that in Africa. He is now the treating physician, on the treating physician team, along with some local doctors, for now Nina. Everybody knows her name now, for Nina. And we feel like that's the best place right now to take people. So when we get those calls, their hazmat rep, they pick them up, they take them to Presby, we take the ambulance out of service, we take it through a cleaning protocol. When we asked for the EpiAid in the beginning, Health and Human Services ordered, I forget what, like 5 or 6 or 9 or something epidemiologists, and those are disease detectives, basically, if you think about it.
Not our health.
Yeah, our Health and Human Services. 2 weeks ago. Now what we have from CDC.
But again, Judge,
all of these hospitalists out there at that hospital.
Correct, and I think it's
so now that hospital is safe.
I understand, but like Mr. Thompson said, the Dallas County Health and Human Services Department, we cannot answer, for if the employees at Presbyterian protocol. So my question is, and I want to leave it very clear, emergency personnel, I'm talking about fire and police departments in all different municipalities, get a call. Should they have the information of the people that we're tracking? Is there a protocol that is already being created to, whenever these calls happen, they know that they have to, send them to Presbyterian? I mean, my concerns, as a dentist, is that if, the chief of police of one of my municipalities or the fire department of one of my municipalities gets a call, and do they know that it's an Ebola call has to be sent, to Presbyterian? Are these preset?
Yes. And using the appropriate PPE. Yes.
Exactly. Are they using, how well are they connected to all the efforts? I totally commend the efforts of CDC and the new epidemiologists. I watched it on TV as well last night. Well, how good that protocol is being disseminated, because I don't want Dallas County Health and Human Services Department being blamed for not putting a protocol that actually is not in our hands.
Right. Okay.
So what is the status of that?
So the answer to that is that each day at 12 o'clock, the emergency managers have a phone call where they get to hear all the information orally, and say it back to us so that they understand it in each city. Also on WebEOC, all the information is posted for the emergency managers and the first responders. Also, we have physicians that have, I think later today, we have a physician chat where members of the public can Twitter chat with physicians and ask questions. We've done that with meetings with our first responders for the city of Dallas, where all this is happening. And we've done that with their association heads, so there's a lot more comfort. And I've heard back from the association heads, and they feel more comfort there. I think one of the things you're alluding to is there's been some requests to the Attorney General's office of the state of Texas to release the information of asymptomatic contacts that may live in suburbs other than Dallas. I personally don't know whether they live in a suburb other than Dallas, because that's HIPAA information.
And I totally understand, but that's one of the questions that is out there.
And so the answer from the state is, and I'm not sure if the federal government has weighed in on that, but from the state, the answer is that is not disclosed, that is not information they choose to disclose. That is not within the purview of what I am doing to keep people safe. Information request for people dealing with law is something that state lawyers are dealing with. So there are some requests by some mayors who would like to know the addresses of asymptomatic people who had contact with Mr. Duncan. And if the Attorney General, I'm all for transparency and letting our fellow elected officials know things. I'm also for following HIPAA. That's somewhat different than making sure that we stop this Ebola incident. And so that is in the capable hands of the Attorney General.
Do you have a timeline for this response? Obviously.
Well, he's already basically said the answer is you can't have it.
Okay.
And I'm going to defer to him on that because our goal, Zach's goal, my goal, CDC, docs, and the state doc goal, and all of our teams, sheriff and whatnot, it's every 15 minutes, get our people a little safer, and it's focused on Nina and her family, those 48 families that are awaiting and scared.
70 that Presbyterian is tracking?
I won't confirm that number because I don't know if that's confirmed, but a whole lot of people that I'm now concerned about at Presbyterian. There's just, disease protocols, making sure our infection protocols are strictly and meticulously followed, making sure that there's no foul play involved. There's a whole lot going on that is taking up all of our time, but those questions, that's what the DEC is doing. There are more state agencies as these side issues of concern, which are important issues for people, but they're not issues that are going to help me keep you safe. So they're taking those important issues and they're dealing with those at the state level.
Well, Judge, let me follow up on Commissioner Garcia's. If there is someone that is being monitored, that is out in a suburb, then I can understand that first responders would want to know that. So if the addresses are not going to be disclosed, then protocols need to be at least set up to where first responders know that certain events are going to take place so they can be properly attired when they pick that person up and have that knowledge. But instead of waiting for, I walk up to the door, knock on it, and then they tell me.
Right. It won't be a first responder for, let's just take, a city. It won't be a first responder for a city that would pick up one of these people in all likelihood. It would be a special group.
That's the problem. All they're looking for is, tell us how you're handling that and how they're supposed to handle that. They want to know so they can protect their employees also. So it goes right to the spread of Ebola also.
Yeah. So, and peer-to-peer, emergency managers and first responders are getting that information. So the short answer, that's not what I'm saying. So the short answer would be that if someone called and they said, I have a fever and chills, or I have a fever, I don't feel well, and they ascertain that the person has recently traveled to West Africa, then they have two choices. They can contact the ICS structure and we'll send a specially ready-to-go ambulance out there, or if they
Can I see the list of recommendations on how this is being disseminated, Josh? I would like to post it, on how we are doing this in the training of all first responders, because I understand what you're saying. However, I don't know if all my municipalities for responders are getting this information.
Yeah, here's the best way to do that. If you'll send all your, if you want to send them to me, but the questions go up through the ICS system and they're all answered. And so if Lupe has a question, she sends it up through the system and it's answered by the subject matter.
That discussion was brought up in the EOC yesterday.
Yesterday, Sheriff.
Last night. Yesterday, when I was at the EOC around 6 o'clock last night. And the way they're handling and they're setting it up, I don't know if it's set up already or if it's being set up, is as soon as there's an ambulance call, that address automatically is sent to someone who's monitoring it, and they will answer yea or nay.
Okay.
When an ambulance call comes up.
That's all the cities want to know.
And this was discussed last night about 6 o'clock. I don't know if the message got out. I don't know if the message got out to everybody, but people were concerned, and rightly so. And so as soon as that address comes up, there will be somebody monitoring that says yea or nay.
Well, that city that Commissioner Garcia continued, somebody needs to respond.
Yes, sure that everybody's in the loop.
Yes, sir. And that's one of our issues, is that we can't get information out fast enough. And we're addressing all that. But that was a concern, and it was addressed, and it is being taken care of.
And I think I know that.
Mr. Thompson, you wanted
Clear. I want to make sure she's on target. but they've been asking for that question for a week, so that's fine. The question is, it's on the table. Y'all probably saw the email he sent this morning, so they need to respond to it. I don't need to respond to it.
Well, but you're saying it's been out on the table for over a week, and if they've responded to it, they haven't responded.
Last night.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the concerns.
Who responds to all this, Judge?
If people go through the proper system that they're trained to go through when they become first responders, which is the ICS system, where they send their questions up to the incident command, then the incident command responds to it, either at the local or the state level. If they don't do that, and we hear about questions like, for instance, I'm hearing about Zach's desire to have his lab certified this morning in Commissioner's Court.
That was brought up by me as chair.
Okay, that gets pushed up through the ICS system, and we get it done a lot faster if we just all work as one team, one fight, and push that up, because our state and federal partners and our city partners are working extremely hard, and I'm relying on the people who are working on this to use that ICS system that they're trained to use at every incident command class they go to. And just push it up that system, and when we do that, it works, and when we don't, we have some fumbles. So let's just keep pushing up that ICS system.
And apparently at 1023, just a few minutes ago, the situation you've been following up on has been put in connection with the state.
That's all we were asking. And so, again, the lab, everything. So I got to tell the CDC that already certified our lab that we want to be certified. That's fine. We did that. So
you got to just push it to your person that's sitting there on that table every day.
Well, we did. We pushed that up. My point is, we wanted to notify the CDC that they already have certified our lab for all other biological agents. Maybe we just should have, we had to remind them that we can do Ebola too. So they were taking care of that. They're coming down to look at that. They've already responded.
Okay.
Yeah. I do have a concern, and I'm going to bring this to the court next week, probably by way of a resolution for the Dallas-Fort Worth Hospital Council. I don't understand why we're having to kind of replicate this in such a way that the council, whether it's training or whatever, I guess I'm concerned for two things. First of all, Presbyterian is on divert right now.
Where they're on divert, I was there the minute that they were on divert.
Okay. What is the impact? What is occurring, throughout the region with regards to them being on divert?
That's a great question. That's probably my biggest concern. I'm as concerned, or maybe more concerned, was more concerned before Nina got sick, that we're going to lose people to congestive heart failure and other common but deadly diseases that we deal with every day here, because 1 in 4 of our citizens lack health care, and our emergency rooms are the de facto primary caregiver for people who lack insurance. And what we saw at Presbyterian, without getting into their confidential whatever numbers, we saw a large drop of people going to Presbyterian, people self-selecting to go other places, not because there's anything dangerous about walking into a waiting room where on a different floor in a hermetically sealed room a person has Ebola, but because there's just so much uncertainty. We saw it with children going to school and giving people a ride in a car, and Zach taking some people some food. Just a lot of misinformation out there. And so that has already had that impact on Presbyterian's ability to do that core responsibility as one of the 5 flagship hospitals. One of the reasons why I'm pushing everybody to Presbyterian who has been to West Africa is because I don't want to see that that concern that is not founded in science visited upon Methodist or Parkland or one of our other hospitals. There are concentric circles of complexity with this and with making these decisions, and they're not easy decisions, because when you force everybody to Presby, you make the car ride longer, the ambulance ride longer. It is frankly a position I would not wish on anyone. Everybody over there in Incident Command the decisions that are having to be made are the kind of decisions that are sometimes somewhat haunting. But everyone is working as hard as they can to keep you safe and trying to make the sort of decisions that will do just that. My hope is that the citizens of Dallas will understand this important fact. If you did not handle the bodily fluids of Eric Duncan, you don't have Ebola. If you were not around a person who, and there's only been two, Eric Duncan and Nina Pham, who have had any symptoms, and only one person was around Nina for the 90 minutes she had symptoms before we had her in isolation, because that part of the planning worked great. If you're not one of those 48 contacts,
What happened,
you got nothing to worry, or one of those healthcare workers. You need to not worry about having Ebola. You need to go see your doctor wherever he is, and
2 days. But they were waiting for the diagnosis.
the 2 days of Ms. Pham?
They were waiting for the diagnosis of Mr. Duncan.
He came in on the 28th.
Was everybody wearing the protective?
It's more than,
And the 30th.
29 and the 3rd, was everybody wearing the hazmat protection?
Presbyterian has to tell us.
yeah, I'm going to have to, I know the answer to some of that stuff, but I probably know, I don't know where HIPAA ends and where other things begin. So when you went in on, here's what I can tell you, I think. When you went in on the 26th, they were not wearing appropriate gear for Ebola, obviously.
Right.
And he was sent home. When he went in on the 28th, they were wearing, I believe, is that it? No. Is that, I thought that was one of the Presby docs there. I better just defer to them because I don't know where the line is on what I can say on that. But I believe they have answered some of those questions, most of those questions at press conferences.
The last thing I want to make sure, even though they responded, I'm going to ask Civil DA not to advise any of my staff to respond to any city regarding a state legal matter, that they need to refer them to a state that they got a problem with.
I totally agree.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Right.
Probably, Mr. Thompson, what we can do is to go ahead and direct the DA to refer all these matters to the state.
If they get a question like that, should, but don't tell my staff to.
But just respond.
That one question now, and not every, I don't know what questions they have, but the one question of, can I know the whereabouts of an asymptomatic, contact, if they are in my city, that's something that is a state deal. They might ask Zach another question that touches upon the law and
deferring to the state Health and Human Services.
Yeah, we'll call you over. I mean, I just know that one question is run over.
Okay, I just seen they call the state. Let me just say in conclusion, for this part of the presentation, and while we understand the whole management and public confidence, we've got to be able to make sure that there is public confidence. And in the final analysis from the public health side of the aisle, it's still flu season, and I've continued to say for the last 2 years, over 50,000 people in this country, not in West Africa, in this country has died from flu.
That's right.
And you can catch that by me sneezing on you.
That's right.
Okay.
But I'm going to, could I end with, we'll sit down. But the transparency of what we face with is critical to public trust.
Correct.
All I want to make sure is, we know everybody is working hard, but we need to lay everything on the table so we'll know what we're dealing with and how we're going to respond. That builds the public confidence.
Right. I totally agree.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, I was going to do this as a briefing next week, but I might as well just do it as a bring-up right now. Virginia and I were talking on Friday. We'd like to set up an escrow fund of about $1 million to allow us to silo all the expenses so that we can start having them in one place. So when we start submitting these to the partners who are going to pay for this, that we're all contained in one place. I just think
I think that sounds like a good idea.
That's
Makes a lot of sense.
And, but I do want to talk to the sheriff at some point.
Yeah,
I
if we
talk to the
want
sheriff.
public confidence, we need to be ready and prepared to take some of these challenges.
Talk to the sheriff about that.
Sheriff, at some point in time, on the security side, we need to talk about, we need to talk for security matters, okay?
All right. Do we have,
one more presentation, Judge, which is civil action, Mark Vesey et al. Versus Rick Perry et al. in the United States District Court.
okay. I thought that was moved to next week.
We can move
It can be, it can be. The
Do whatever
intention,
you want to.
right, no, the intention was to just allow for public information that the public may need and to have an executive session, any discussion related to legal questions. There was some miscommunication with regard to that. I don't know if Ms. Toni Pippin Poole needs to communicate anything, but she may not. But we can certainly wait until next week.
No, you don't need to hear nothing about that.
What about the impact on the elections?
Judge, if that's going to be held, we have 5 speakers listed. That concludes the briefing agenda. We have 5 speakers listed.
Hey, on your request, and thanks for sending that, Darrell, because we got a lot going on both these phones right now. So they've just resolved that, Commissioner, your question regarding the other jurisdictions, the other cities, they've just resolved that, apparently.
Yeah, that's what she said earlier. I thought you said that earlier. Yeah.
Well, they said that they think they've come to a resolution. Is that the Steve Dye?
Yeah, I'll be in touch with him later on today. I think they got a plan worked out, and if they do, I will make sure that I get that.
Yeah, and probably just put something in writing about the protocol and how it's going to be managed.
I will get that to the ICS.
You know, one of the things we need to be sure is that everybody receives the same information.
Yes,
I think that part of the, distrust comes out from the fact that we do not have a protocol that can be followed by everyone. Thank you, Mr. Martin. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Yes.
All right, is that guys?
That's it, Judge. We have 5 speakers.
We have 5 speakers. All right. Would the borough please read the rules of decorum for our public speakers?
All commissioners or attendees are hereby advised that this meeting is conducted with a provision of the Dallas County Code, Section 74-71. Visitors and registered speakers are preserved order and decorum at all times. Personal, profane, or slanderous remarks are not appropriate and will not be allowed at any time during this public meeting. Any and all applause is to kept brief in observance of time constraint. Disruptive visitors and speakers may be removed and are subject to the penalties provided in the state of Texas Penal Code, Section 38.13, 42.01, and 42.05. Registered individual speakers are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and a maximum discussion of any one topic is 30 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor Bailey. Our first speaker registered is Mrs. Tone Kabir. Ms. Tone Kabir. Ms. Tone Kabir. Second speaker registered is Ms. LaCoya London. Yes, ma'am. And if you'll just give your name for the record, and we'll have 3 minutes, please. Thank you.
LaCoya London, 1411 North Copper Hill Road, Dallas, Texas 75211. Okay, I am here about Project Reach, and this is a program that was ran by Dr. Michael Knowles. I'm coming to give you a good understanding that the West Dallas Probation Office was running this program. It was funded by CDC, of course, Builders of Hope. It was funded by them, but the probation office was running it. They was running Project Reach. Now the young men, they were doing community service. They were building ramps for the elderly, feeding the elderly in West Dallas. And I know a lot of the stuff was done through the multi-purpose center. But the point is, this program was dismantled. Okay? It was dismantled by Angie Givens Hall. So my point is, she's supposed to be the supervisor at this West Dallas probation office. So why would you dismantle something that has helped the youth and the young men when they're part of the pipeline, the prison system from the get-go? And I really don't understand why. I mean, it seems like it was failed, but it wasn't. You failed the young men. The young men were failed because you put them in something to rehabilitate them, and then you just threw them out after 8 years of operation. So we're trying to see how we can get Project Reach done. And I'm coming to find out that it was supposed to be expanded. So maybe a big argument happened, you know, and the director was forced to resign. I mean, that's what's happening right now. They're forcing people to resign. People don't quit their jobs. They get forced to resign. So I want maybe why we can't get this supervisor to resign? If she don't care about the young men after the Trayvon Martin shooting, after the Michael Brown shooting, and young men are getting shot down. So we need something to rehabilitate them. It's very important that we do something to rehabilitate them. And if you take this Project Reach, which was the only program left for that West Dallas area, then what do they have? You have young men saying, I'm praying for this to come back. I took a young man to City Hall last week. He said he was praying for this program to come back because it was helping him. I have a lot of young men that call me and say, Ms. London, I'm ready to speak now. They was afraid to come in here and speak. I came here, I sat in the hallway with them, and I said, you're going to go to that little podium right there, and you're going to tell how this program helped you. You know, and I told them I'll organize anything, as long as it's positive. We need these young men off the street. We don't want them to go back to the street, and that's just really it. So the point is, we need something done to get Project Reach back going and expanded. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Londa. And while I'm not speaking to Ms. Londa, I think we've said that Project Reach was a grant that expired. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, okay. Well, I'd ask that we at least get the information so that we can generate it to them so they'll know that there was not a decision that was made by this court or anyone here. The history, okay.
Let's do it. That's what he meant.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Make that happen.
I got it. Sandra Crenshaw. We'll give your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Sandra Crenshaw, and I reside in Commissioner 3's district. It is of good reason that October is Mental Illness Awareness Month and Anti-Bullying Month. Often those who bully suffer from mental illness, and people are often abused by bullies, and it has a devastating effect on their mental health. Last night we learned of a superintendent in New York that disbanded an entire high school sports department. The township asked, why punish everybody? And the response was that the school bullying was tolerated by the department. I also come here on the 50th anniversary of the civil rights in a campaign season. I'm trying to see if we can get a commitment from this seat of government to address the bullying and the mental abuse that is imposed on citizens by Dallas County employees. We see a little bit too much of that here on the Commissioner's Court, and we hope that this will no longer be tolerated. Your examples for the kids and name calling and that type of stuff should definitely not be tolerated. And as a person who suffers from a mental illness, I have filed complaints with both the state and federal government about abuse from Dallas County employees, from the district clerk's office to the jails, from the JP courts, to the grand jury, the DA, sheriff deputies, 5 judges, and even Parkland Health Services themselves. 90% of my complaints were from that were imposed by those of African descent. And in psychiatry also know that the oppressed often take on the ways of the oppressor. And I feel that that there needs to be a cultural awareness training, not only for the African Americans, but also for the European supervisors. Otherwise, I'll have to question if tolerance by Dallas County of this kind of behavior is intentional. This government has a duty and an obligation to ensure that every employee is of good mental health themselves, that they're trained in basic, good public relations. 90% of the people that interface with Dallas County employees are in distress. They're coming to the seat of government for help. They don't come here to get abused, talked crazy to, and it's a problem among the African Americans because the Europeans are not aware of the body language, the tribal language, the working, what we call working the neck, and talking with without any type of politeness. That is provocative. That is provocative, and it's very painful for those people like myself that suffer from post-traumatic stress, and it's very painful, and it needs to be addressed, and I'm tired of filing complaints. I'd like this court, Mr. Price, to address those issues, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Crenshaw. Francis Rizzo.
She won't be able to be here.
Okay. Mrs. Teresa Stamman. It's to you. Am I right, Stamman? Yes. Okay. Okay. Ms. Stamman, if you'll give your name and your address for the record, and you have 3 minutes, please.
My name is Teresa Stamman. I live at 1112 Angie Lane, DeSoto, Texas, 75115. I come here today because of power abuse and inept behavior in the workplace. I'm having trouble coughing because I'm talking because I'm a little stopped up, but I don't have Ebola. Do you mind if I let the gentleman pass you out some documents?
Please do.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah, just get your seat. It's okay. Yeah, 6 seconds. Okay, you can continue.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
What I've passed out is a document that shows that I was directed to a justice of the peace court when I've already been in district court in the 298 court. I went there to court on September the 30th, 2014. When I arrived there, I had no business being there because the property that I'm talking about is contained in statute. Also, if you look at Exhibit 1 through F, you will see a warranty, one a federal trust was filed under a warranty deed in the Warren Record Building. Before a foreclosure, I want you to look at Exhibit 1A, where it was filed in February 28, 2010. 1B, August the 9th, 2011, and then so on. 1A, when A, B, C, D, E, F show that it was filed 5 times. Now, the statute period was 2 years, and 180 days. It says in the Commerce Law Book, if you do not show any action within 2 years and within 180 days, that is contained in statute. The property. Also, here, if you would pass this, I have two that you can pass. On or about March the 2nd, 2008, a foreclosure was on the property 1112 Angie Lane. And the foreclosure by Saxon Mortgage. The foreclosure was forfeit due to the invalid deed and note because of Deceptive Trade Practice Act. I have been in the 298 court. When I was there, Resume Mortgage had no cause of action nor jurisdiction. The court day I went, when I went to court, April the 29th for the summary judgment, it was denied to them.
Ms. Stewart, we'll give you about another 5 minutes.
Okay, and then we went to court.
5 seconds.
Okay, we went to court on the 11th, and nothing was done. Now I'm in the Justice of the Peace Court. They're asking for an eviction illegally. They found some papers, removed my paperwork.
Yeah, you're going to have to conclude.
Okay, so now, does the statute of liberty, does it goes for the district court, all courts, or just the Justice of the Peace is exempt from that?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, no, we can't answer. Well, if you want to contact the offices, we'll refer you, but we can't answer.
Okay, so contact.
You can contact my office. We'll refer you. But
okay then.
Okay, that seems to conclude all of our speakers that are registered. If there's nothing else to come before this Commissioners Court, we will retire into executive session under the Open Meetings Act under 551 of the Government Code for those matters that are permissive by law. Any subsequent action, should it be needed, will be done in this court in open session.
This one here? Where's the?
It's at the bottom.
Whenever you're ready. You guys. You ready?
Yes.
No action necessary as per the closed session. This court stands adjourned.